Hi everybody, I'm here with Alexander Barkawi, economist and think tanker. And Alexander, today you also were a speaker, mainly about central banks. And that's why we're doing this analysis today about today's session, which was mainly about inflation. So I would like to know, what were your main takeaways today?
Oh, well, thanks a lot. I usually enjoyed the session. One of the really encouraging things for me, even though it's also a bit alarming, was the humility the governors displayed with regard to their economic models. Essentially saying, we're not really sure where we're heading towards, and our models are calibrated on the past, and that might not serve us well for the future. So that was one aspect that I took away as very encouraging. I felt that based on that, there would have been a lot of follow-up questions that we didn't have time in this session. I'd be glad to elaborate a little bit, but overall, I really enjoyed the session.
Okay, well, then I will be happy if you elaborate a bit.
Sure. So I think, first of all, actually, it started off by a comment on diversity. And I think the fact that we are so uncertain about our models, more diversity in central banks would probably be a good thing to get diverse thinking, not just into the model, but also into the decision-taking. I think what also became clear on the panel was that the whole distributional consequences of central banking are high up on the agenda. We've also heard that coming through in the questions from the students. And I do think that the central banks, including these governors, do think about these things, but they still somehow always relate to this narrative of, well, we're here for price stability, but they're not out there in the open really proactively addressing all the other questions that comes along with that. I understand that time is limited, but I think that's kind of the follow-up question that derives from the conversation here today.
Is there something like you really want to add?
Maybe to bring in the environmental part of what I believe should be on the radar of central banking. So we talked about inflation, and we talked about supply shocks. And many of the supply shocks that we're experiencing today, or at least some of them, are also driven by environmental developments. So one of the key waterways in Europe, the Rhine, is at very low water levels. That is contributing to supply shocks. China has very low water levels in the Yangtze River that has contributed to power shortages. That didn't come up, but I think it does show that there's so many aspects that are at least publicly not on the radar of central banks that should be on the radar.
Alexander, thank you very much.